Hello, my name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting, Leave No Veteran Behind. And also I'm a United States Army veteran. Today I'm bringing you another educational video as it pertains to the VA disability compensation claims process. And today I'm going to be discussing high-level review. I'm not going to do a deep dive into it, but I just want to cover some of the basics as it pertains to the high-level review. I have some notes here with some regulations where I'm going to go over a few regulations that I feel a lot of veterans miss as it pertains to a high-level review. I get a lot of questions through my website, kmd89.com, about high-level reviews. Also in my training, monthly training module that I do, I get a lot of questions on high-level review. So I just wanted to do a video as it pertains to this topic in hopes to clarify a few things. So first, what is the definition of a high-level review? And the regulations, I'm going to read them verbatim directly from the VA's website. So the definition of a high-level review: high-level reviews consist of de novo reviews of the issues identified by the requesters on a completed VA Form 20-0996 decision review request high-level review. De novo review means the reviewer re-examines and re-adjudicates the claim in question without deference to the prior decision except for proper favorable findings. So when you do a high-level review, it has to be on a VA Form 20-0996. If it's not on that form, the VA won't accept it as a high-level review, okay? And those are normally done by decision review officers working at the VA, okay? So what they're looking for to see if the rating specialist committed an error, or whether it be in denying a service, requested service connection for a particular condition, incorrect effective date, incorrect evaluation based on the evidence of record at that particular time, okay? Okay, so the next regulation, restrictions of high-level reviews. VA must receive the VA Form 20-0996 within 1 year of the notification letter for the decision made on or after February 19, 2019, okay? So what that means is when you receive a rating decision, in the top left-hand corner of the notification letter, so there's two parts. When you receive the packet, you're gonna have the notification letter on top, and then underneath that, the second part of that is you're gonna have the rating decision itself, which lists the evidence reviewed, the decision, and then the reason and basis, which is the narrative, okay? So the notification letter in the top right-hand corner is gonna be a date, okay? So let's just say that date is February 1st, 2020. You have 365 days to submit a high-level review. So as long as you submit it on or before February 1st, 2021. Okay, if you submit the high-level review on February 2nd, 2021, the high-level review is not valid because it's outside that 365-day window. So please keep that in mind. I've seen, and it's been like that for years, even under the old appeal process, you had 365 days to submit appeals, but now high-level review. And I've actually seen where veterans continued that process. They kept, getting denied, and they go to BVA and just keep going and going. And 5 years later, they get service connected, but they never let that 365 days lapse. And once they became, service connected for that condition, the VA had to grant all the way back to the original claim date. Okay, so if you feel strongly that an error has been committed in that rating decision that you receive, and you continuously to pursue your claim, and you don't let that 365 days lapse, and if you eventually get awarded service connection or a higher evaluation or early effective date, whatever, they have to go back to the original claim date, okay? So that's what that particular regulation means. Also, in this regulation, it also states high-level reviews cannot be requested for proposals. So what that means is if you receive a rating decision saying we're proposing to reduce your service-connected PTSD from 70% to 30%, you can't turn around and submit a VA Form 20-0996 for a high-level review. You have to let that play out. So there's other options that you can take if that happens, but for what we're talking about today, you cannot submit a high-level review. You have to wait until the final decision has been made on their proposed to reduce, whether it's to confirm and continue, or even if they actually reduce you, at that point in time, you can submit a high-level review, okay? Also, I want to talk about the 20-0996 itself, and just point out a couple of things. Now, this form is 2 pages, and some of the things I feel personally that are important I'm going to talk about. So, in box 12, it asks benefit type. Please check only one. Now, it's asking you if you for the high-level review, why are you submitting this high-level review under? So one of the choices are compensation, vocational rehabilitation and employment, which is also known as voc rehab, pension, survivors benefits, fiduciary, education, insurance, Veterans Healthcare Administration, National Cemetery Administration. Today is going to be pertaining to compensation, okay? So one, you want to make sure if you're doing compensation, check compensation in box 12. Box 13, if you would like the same office that issued your prior decision to conduct a review, you can make that request by checking the box below. Okay, so what that means is when a rating decision is done, there's a regional office in almost every state, okay? And that regional office has a 3-digit number, normally starts with 3, okay? So for example, state of Florida, the regional office in Florida, the regional office identifier number is 317. Georgia, I believe, is 316, and South Carolina or Alabama is 315, okay? So again, in the rating notification letter, which is the top sheet in that packet that you receive in the mail, look in the top right-hand corner of that letter, and there's a 3-digit number. It'll start, say, 317, 345, 312, or 317, 316, whatever. That's the identifier for the regional office that has jurisdiction. So how do you know if, when you submit the high-level review, if it's been transferred to another regional office if you requested it in box 13? And one way that you can find out is, one, make sure you keep everything the VA sends you, because on all documents that they send you, the regional office that letter comes from, the 3-digit number will be in the top right-hand corner, okay, of that letter. But in this case, we're talking about the notification letter, which still, that 3-digit number is in the top right-hand corner. So you get the notification letter with the rating decision attached. Let's just say it's 317, Florida, and you request for it to be, the high-level review to be handled at another location. So now, how do you confirm that? Once you submit the high-level review, in a few weeks you can call in, has, my high-level review been uploaded in my electronic claim file? Yes. And if it has, then you can ask the VSR at the call center, can you tell me which regional office has jurisdiction? Has it been assigned to a regional office? And if they say yes, just ask them for the identifier, and you can say, hey, I'm concerned. I want to make sure that it hasn't been assigned to the same regional office that did the rating decision, okay? Now, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. When I did my appeal, back when I did my appeal, it wasn't called high-level review, but it was called so-called appeals. The same location, 9 times out of 10, the same location that did the rating decision would do the appeal. Mine was handled, I believe, in Georgia. And I wish I had this option at that particular time to have it move, but I didn't. okay? But there was some other things that I did to help me win the appeal, all right? Box 14, it asks if you want to have an informal conference. This is something new as well. I mean, it's been out for a couple of years since the high-level review process, but back when I did it, you had to request a formal conference, and I had a formal video conference, but it asks what times do you want them to contact you. And on here in box 14, it asks 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m., and then 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., and they'll call you. Now, one thing to keep in mind, whenever you get a call from someone at the VA, you know, I talk to so many veterans say, oh, somebody called me and they were asking for this and they were asking for that. First question I ask them, who called you? Well, they didn't say. You didn't ask? Nope, I didn't ask. Well, where were they calling from? They didn't say. And I asked, you didn't ask? No. So if anybody calls you from the VA, you want to ask them, what's your name? What is your job title? Are you a VSR or are you an RVSR? And which regional office are you affiliated with? Write these notes down. That's not uncommon for vets to ask that. You want to ask that, okay? That could be valuable information for you later, you know, if you get a negative opinion. And then you want to ask the reason for the call, which they should first they'll verify that it's you, and they should tell you why they're calling, but you want to ask certain questions as well. So in an informal conference, they should tell you, you know, their name, their job title, and why they're calling you. And if it's for an informal conference, they should state that. So you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row when they call you, because you want to make sure that, you know, you're not stumbling, you're not trying to figure out why did I do a high-level review, and hopes that, you know, they'll just give you a favorable decision. It doesn't always work that way, okay? Also, in box 15A, it asks for specific issues, and then box 15B, it asks for date of the decision notice. So you're going to need to know that information to put on the high-level review. So in some other videos, you probably heard me talk about keeping a copy of everything you send in the VA send you, and building your own file. And I keep mine right here in my office on my desk, and this is my paper copy of my claim file. It took me 4 years, but I kept everything. I made sure I put everything in here that I sent to the VA and that I received back from the VA. So you want to make sure you do the same. If you haven't started, make sure you start to do that. So that way, if you have, when you do have to list the rating rating decision date, you have that information. You just don't get it and throw it away. You don't know how many veterans I talk to that they get information and they just put it somewhere and they can't find it. And then when it comes time to answer some of those questions, they don't know. They have no clue. So you want to make sure that you keep a copy of everything, especially that you receive from the VA, because they're going to have dates at the top left-hand corner of all that information. So you definitely you want to keep that with you. The next regulation I'm going to talk about is the evidentiary record on high-level reviews. I'm not going to read the entire regulation, but I wanted to read a certain part of this regulation. The high-level reviewer may not consider additional or newly submitted evidence. So what that means is when you submit that old 996 to the VA, you can't submit any new evidence. They're going to look at all the evidence of record to see if their rating specialist made a mistake, whether it be, you know, denying the claim or an incorrect effective date or incorrect evaluation or percentage for that particular condition that they service connected. So you can't submit any new evidence. So again, when you get ready to do a high-level review, you want to make sure that you have everything that the VA has, that the decision review officer is going to look at to make that decision if their rating specialist made an incorrect decision. So you want to make sure that you have that. If you don't, you got to ask yourself, how can you file a high-level review if you don't have it? Because you're going into this HLR blind. And so, like I said, I have a copy of my claim folder, and I remember when I did my appeal, the document, I knew the exact issues that I was stating that the VA the rating specialist made an error on, and I had the actual documents. Okay, so when I got on the video conference with the decision review officer, I had all that, and I knew exactly where I was at in my claim folder. I knew the date, and what they were doing, they were top sheeting the review of my claim folder. So they were just looking at the first 5 or 10 pages, and you had to go down a little bit further to find that information. And once I had the decision review officer on the video conference, I led her to that document, and that's how I was able to win my appeal. So you want to make sure whatever reason you're using to file, the reason why you're filing that high-level review, you want to make sure you have the evidence that supports that. Now, another thing to look for, if it's, let's say for instance, it's a denial and the rating specialist didn't document in the evidence section a particular piece of evidence that you submitted to the VA, you want to make sure you have a copy of that, and you want to call in before you submit the high-level review to ensure that that actual piece of evidence is in your electronic claim folder. Okay, so now going back to the informal conference. One of the regulations conducting informal conferences. These are possible some questions that you may be asked, okay? And this is actually in the regulation. And the conversation is always documented, and it's documented on a VA Form 27-0820, okay? A VA Form 27-0820. Some of the questions that may be asked of you by the decision review officer is, what is the decision in which you disagree? Why do you disagree with the decision? Did you submit information to the VA that you feel was not considered in the making of the decision? If yes, what is the information? So with that being said, again, just like I previously discussed, you need to know the what, why, how, and when as it pertains to this high-level review. So you got to do your homework. You got to sit down. You got to look at that rating decision. You got to look at the evidence in that rating decision. Is it correct? If it's not correct, why isn't it incorrect? Because you're going to be asked these questions. You just can't leave it up to that decision review officer to go through and capture all this. You want to make sure you capture it and tell them, hey, they failed to do this. This particular regulation states they had to do this. They didn't do it. This evidence that I submitted is not in the evidence section of the rating decision. It would have provided information that possibly the comp and pen examiner could use to give me a positive opinion. So you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you submit that high-level review, okay? Now, again, I get a lot of questions, and a lot of veterans just say, well, I'm just going to do a high-level review. And I say, why? Well, they denied me. Well, why did they deny you? Oh, well, I should have been service-connected. It's in my VA medical records. And I say, okay, stop. Some of the questions I ask, do you have a copy of your claims folder? No. The condition you claim, does it fall under the 5 ways of service connection? What do you mean? Did you claim it on a pre-service aggravation, direct service connection, increase, secondary, or presumptive basis? I don't know. What does that mean? Okay. Then I go on to ask, did you get a comp and pen exam? Yes. So that means it fell under one of the 5 ways of service connection. Do you have a copy of the comp and pen exam? No. So at this point, I'm like, how are you going to go about doing a high-level review when you don't know any of this? Because if you ask for an informal conference, or you can't even fill out the 0996 properly, okay? You need that. That's why you need that information in your claims folder. If you kept it, if you made a copy before you sent it in, or if they sent you some information, then you have it. But if you don't have it, you want to get a copy of it. And the way you get a copy of the claims folder, you can submit a FOIA request to the intake center. I faxed my request in on a VA Form 21-4138, and then I turned around and mailed it, but I kept a copy and I put it in my claims folder, okay? They received it. I confirmed it. I got a letter, actually, from the VA dated January 8th, 2020, saying they received my request, and it's May 7th, and I still have yet to receive it. I'm pretty sure they're probably behind due to this whole coronavirus pandemic. So when I did my appeal, I was building my claim folder because I was keeping everything that I sent the VA and that they sent me. So when I got in front of the decision review officer in my formal hearing, I had everything. I knew what, when, why, and I had the evidence, and I knew I could win that appeal, okay? So you want to make sure you do the same. But going back to the example that I was given, if, I asked most people, did you get a comp and pen exam? Yep. Do you have a copy of it? No. Now, if you do a comp and pen exam at a VA facility, then you can go to that release of information office at that particular VA facility and ask for a copy of that CMP exam. Or if you're registered or you created an account on myhealthyvet.gov, you can go on there and under Blue Note medical evidence, you can actually do a search if you know the date you did that comp and pen exam and get a copy of that exam. If you did it through like LHI, QTC, then you have to go through the intake center and get a copy of your claims folder because the healthcare system does not they don't upload a copy of CMP exams from third-party contractors, okay? So you may ask, why is it important that I need a copy of that comp and pen exam? If you get a copy of the comp and pen exam and on there shows you get a negative opinion, now you can come up with a game plan of how to approach your high-level review. Because what that means is if the condition you claim was denied, but it fell under the 5 ways of service connection, then that doctor, the examiner gave you a negative opinion and you want to know exactly why, what was their rationale as to why they gave you a negative opinion. So then you get this information, you can formulate a plan of attack of how you want to go about doing this high-level review. And it may, when you look at the information, it may be that you don't even need a high-level review. It could have been, you could submit additional documentation for a supplemental claim, but you need to figure that out. You need to be educated on these VA regulations, you need to understand the high-level review process. Is it something that you feel you can win? If you're not sure, then you can contact somebody that knows, and you can ask them, say, hey, this is what happened. Do I possibly have a chance? Now, again, you're just telling that person what you think if you don't have a copy of the claims folder. So somebody cannot make an actual, give you some direct and good feedback if they don't see certain information, okay? So again, you want to make sure you have that because this high-level review process can be very complicated. I think the whole VA claims process is complicated, but it could get more complicated, especially if you don't know why you want to do or why you're doing the actual high-level review. So definitely keep that in mind. Just sit down, read the rating decision 2, 3, 4, 5 times to make sure, one, that all the evidence that you submitted, the rater noted it in the rating decision, and then look, if you feel the effective date is incorrect, and if the evaluation is incorrect, but you may need some other information like the comp and pen exam to review to make sure your basis for the high-level review can be confirmed. Okay, you definitely you want to know that piece of it. So I hope I was able to clarify a lot of things or some things as it pertains to the high-level review. Again, I didn't do a deep dive into it. I just took some basic information to educate you just on a foundation level of this process. But if you have questions, feel free to reach out. You can go to my website. It's kmd89.com, kmd89.com, Kilo Mike Delta 89.com. You can submit a questionnaire, a question on the website, and I'll get notified of it, and I can respond that way. You can pick up the phone. You can give me a call. I have a toll-free number. It's 855-765-3137. That's 855-765-3137. And also I have my email address on there as well. This is something I do talk about in my monthly module training that I just started this month. Actually, I have a training this Saturday. I don't know if this video will be uploaded by the time I do the training on May 9th, but I'm going to do this training once a month, beginning in the first week of every month going forward. It's a 4-hour training, and this is one of the topics that I'm going to be discussing in that training. So with that being said, thank you for watching the video. Continue to be safe during this whole coronavirus pandemic. Please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification button so you can get notified when I upload a new video. And if it's a topic that you would like for me to discuss, leave it in the comment section. I'll get around to doing a video on it. Someone did request that I do a video on high-level review, so I hope I was able to answer some questions. But to the person that requested this video, if it's still some confusion or any confusion about the high-level review process, please reach out and contact me so we can get your answers to any questions. So again, like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your service, and continue to be safe. And I'll see you in the next education video. Thank you.